Hello everybody, I'm Stephanie. Today I've got a few moves for you to help loosen up and lengthen the hamstrings. So for today's practice, you're going to need a strap or a belt or a scarf or something long. So grab that and join me on your mat wherever you're at, and let's get started. So I've got 6 moves for you today to help lengthen the hamstrings, and when we're doing this, we're gradually doing it a little bit at a time, but we never want to press. We never want to go to that very extreme past our edge for our hamstrings. Everybody's are different, and having tight hamstrings can lead to many different things. Sometimes if your hamstrings are tight, the bum might hurt, the glutes into the piriformis, the low back might hurt, the hips might hurt. It affects a lot of things. So first move we're going to look at is our standing forward fold, and as we do that, really imagining this bend from the hips. So a lot of times when I'm doing this, I'm thinking of swan diving. So I inhale and reach my arms up as high as I can and really reach through my crown. My belly button's going to pull in to my spine to give me that little bit of extra length. So it's the difference between just kind of standing and feeling all of that gravity going down and really pulling up and in and getting as tall as possible. Then staying here, you can swan dive or the hands can go through heart center. But as you're bowing from the hips, really imagining reaching back through the tailbone and forward through the crown. So even here, when I come to about my halfway point, I'm beginning to feel it in my hamstrings. So I want to soften the knees as I'm taking it the rest of the way down. So standing forward fold, and depending on how long your arms are, I've got really long arms, so I can reach the floor even when my hamstrings aren't warmed up. But if you're made a little bit differently with very tight hamstrings or shorter arms, those hands may stop somewhere else, and that's okay. So maybe the hands stop on the shins. Maybe they stop on the ankles. You can even put some props there, some blocks there, but we're looking for this length in the spine so that I'm bending in half from the hips and not curving the spine, because a lot of times, this is where I started practicing years ago. When my standing forward fold, I would come down and I would curve the spine, and I even see this a lot in class. So really thinking length, and then reaching back through the hips, forward through the crown. And then we're going to hang out here for a little bit, so softening the knees, and you'll notice that takes some of the length off the hamstrings, but I'm still reaching down through my crown. I'm going to grab opposite elbows, maybe just rock side to side, and see how that feels. Then letting those hands hang back down. Inhale, halfway lift. I'm going for that length again, reaching back through the hips and forward through the crown. Again, how long can I get my spine? And I'm feeling this in the hamstrings. Keeping that length again. If I want to, I can soften the knees again. Or if it feels like they've lengthened a little bit, just bowing from the hips, standing forward fold again. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. Lengthen the torso. Exhale, standing forward fold, and I can soften the knees every single time or keep them straight. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, standing forward fold. And then beginning to find where my edge is. So if I need to, keeping that soft bend in the knees, I might have palms down, they might be on the shins, on the ankles. But I'm really going to start imagining reaching up through my hips. Maybe taking a little bit of the bend out of the knees. Couple breaths here. Then deep, deep bend in the knees. Plant the palms if they're not planted already. And come down to your tabletop. I always like to take down dog from tabletop because this sets up the alignment for everybody's body. Everybody's different. Some people who do have longer arms or legs need to come from table. So I'm going to come to my table and set up. Press into my mat, shoulder blades spread side to side. Neutral flat back, so I'm not tucking the tailbone in. I've got a neutral back, and you'll notice my belly's kind of hanging down now. I'm going to engage it without pulling the hips forward. So belly button pulls in. So if you notice when you pull your belly button in, you pull the hips forward too. It's not a core engagement, that's just a hips going forward. So I'm going to keep the hips where they are and pull the belly button in. From here, tuck the toes, grip your mat with your toes, with your fingers, cores engaged, and with the exhale, hips go up and back. We're going to find some movement here. Pedaling the heels one at a time, really breathing into the hamstrings here. And you can continue just with one foot at a time, pressing down towards your mat. Or if you'd like to take it just a little bit further, both heels are going to begin to reach down. And then when you've gone to your edge, you can notice my heels aren't all the way down, and that is okay. That's telling me in my body, because usually in my body my heels can go down, that my hamstrings are tight. So very apropos, I need to do this for myself too. I'm going to soften my knees and reach back through my hips even a little bit more. Then begin to let those heels soften. Breathing into the hamstrings again. If you feel anything shooting up into the hips or the low back, soften those knees. That's not where our intention is. We want to send that breath into the hamstrings. Then maybe take another few petals here. Just noticing how things are feeling. And then finding some stillness, look up between your hands and walk your feet to the top of your mat. It's okay if the hands have to come off the mat. And then exhale, bow from the hips again. Inhale, halfway lift. Find that length in the torso. Bow back down. And on the inhale, I'm going to squeeze my glutes just a little bit, and core pulls in a little bit more. So the core and the legs are help lifting me up. And then I come back down, hands to heart center. So we've got our standing forward fold, our down dog, and then we're going to take it to a wide-legged forward fold. So finding a very, very wide stance, but turning the toes in so the toes are in line with the heels. And if you're super long-legged, as you go forward, you might have to widen that stance even further. You'll begin to know your body. Hands are going to come to the hips. Inhale, get tall again, just like we did in our standing forward fold. You can even reach the arms up if that feels good. Then with your exhale, bowing, we're going to pause halfway. So reaching back through the tailbone and forward through the crown. Beginning to feel that stretch in the hamstrings. Really, again, finding that length. I'm going to show you from the side here, because what happens a lot of time is when people say go into their wide-legged forward fold, where am I bowing from? There's no hinge here. Keep it long. So I want to bow from the hips. Find that halfway point, feeling those hamstrings. Again, if it's a little too intense, soften the knees. Then when I'm ready, coming all the way down. And I'm going to stay here in the side view because I want to show you a way to take it a little bit deeper. So I'm going to widen my stance. I know my leg may disappear into the camera here, into the edge. But once I have found my edge, and everybody's different, you may need to have blocks. That may be as far as you go, but as long as the torso was long and not rounded. Once you find your edge, rock just a little bit forward so that more pressure is on the toes than on the heel. That's just lengthening the hamstrings a little bit more, and it's aligning the hips with the ankles. I'm going to turn back this way now, just so I can have a grip. I was slipping with my sweaty feet. And then we're just going to hang out here for a few breaths. But really finding that, you might be able to see it here, I'm going to rock forward again so that more pressure is on my toes. I'm not lifting the heels off the mat, but I'm just shifting the weight slightly so my hips are in line with my ankles and they're not back behind. Breathing here into the hamstrings. Then coming back up to the palms if you've gone down further. Taking your gaze slightly out in front of you, you're going to turn your right toes out and bend your right knee. You can walk your hands over to the right. You can sweep the hands over to the right. It's completely up to you, but we're doing a side lunge. I'm going to put my hands on the mat because we're going to hold this just a little bit. This time I'm getting into the inner adductor, It's not so much the hamstring, but it's going to help release some of those hamstrings. Right toes turn in, left toes turn out, side lunge to the other side. You can walk it, you can sweep it. I'll sweep it here on the second time. To do that, you need a little bit more core strength to keep the torso lifted. Left toes in, right toes out, walk or sweep. And if it feels a little bit too intense in those hips, bring the palms back down or find more engagement in those inner thighs. Pull them together. That's going to take some of the pressure out from that low lunge if gravity is just a little bit too intense. Right toes in, left toes out, other side. Walk or sweep. Again, do the fingers need to come back down? Do you need to find some more engagement in the inner thighs? And then back to center. We're here for just one more round of breath. Then bring your hands to your hips, soften the knees, squeeze the glutes, core pulls in, come up. Toe, heel your feet back in. We're going to take it down to a seated position this time, so comfortably coming down, bringing your feet out from underneath you, and we're going to find a seated forward fold here. And I love this one because it can show you what's going on in your standing forward fold. So I'm going to extend my legs long to begin with, engage my toes, point them up towards the ceiling, and then soften the knees. Do you notice what happened when you did that? Did you feel yourself kind of rock forward to the sits bones and kind of get a little bit taller? So keeping that soft bend in the knees, I'm going to keep my hands by my hips to begin. Inhale, lift through the torso. So I'm not pressing here, but I want to lift through the torso. And again, where are we bending from? Right in the hip. Beginning to walk the hands forward. I'm going to stop when I start to feel that stretch in the hamstring. Maybe I stay here. You can either also reach down for the ankles. You can also peace finger the big toes and really drive that spine forward. But keeping the softness in the knees. And then if it feels okay, straightening the knees. Once you're to your edge, let that head kind of go and relax. So noticing where you're feeling the stretch. You should feel this stretch in the hamstrings, this big hamstring stretch. If you're feeling it shoot down behind the kneecaps or shoot up into the low back, soften those knees again so it becomes the intention of the hamstring stretching. Breathing here for a couple breaths. Then release wherever you're at and come back up. Once you're all the way back up, making your way down onto your back and grabbing your strap as you're coming down onto your back. And you can see my strap's a little bit different. This is called a Shiva strap, and it's more of a circle. Yours may be one long continuous strand, or you might have a belt, or you might have a scarf, and it doesn't matter. You can use any of those. But once you come all the way down to your back, you're going to extend your left leg long, bend your right knee, and place the strap underneath the arch of the foot so that you can grab one hand on one side and one hand on the other. From here, pressing the foot into the strap, leg is going to fully extend, so you might have to walk the hands down, but making sure that your neck is connected down. You're not reaching up so the neck's coming off the mat. This is basically, the strap is giving extension to your arms. If you have shorter arms, this makes them really, really long, and it also helps you just to find some engagement with the hands, but the leg is inactive. So the arms are doing all the work here. So instead of the hamstring muscle being engaged and then we try to stretch it, this is passively stretching it with just the arms doing the work. So finding that full extension in the leg, arms as long down the strap as you need to, foot is engaged, inhale to prepare. With your exhale, tiny, tiny pull, just until you begin to feel that hamstring. Again, if it's shooting into the knee, into the low back, maybe you come out of it just a little bit, or wherever you need to. Breathing into the hamstring here for a few breaths, and you'll feel it when it begins to let go. You can hold there and just stay, or taking it tiny steps at a time. Inhale again. Exhale, walk your hands up the strap. Sending that breath again into the hamstring. You can hold there or one more time. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, walk your hands up the strap. So you might notice my hands are very, very close to my foot. And if your hands are close to the foot, you may even get that strap away and peace finger the right toe with the right fingers. And that has nothing to do with, oh, I'm flexible or oh, I'm not flexible, but I've got a long arm. So if you So everybody, I know I say this a lot, but I feel like we need to hear it. Everybody's bodies are made different. So some of us that look a certain way, it's not so much that we're more advanced. We just have different things that we're working with. And then very gently bending your knee, releasing the long to the mat. Other side, bend your left knee. Place the strap underneath the arch of the left foot. Extending the foot up towards the ceiling, leg lengthens, knee straightens. If you need to, walking your hands down the strap, but let the left leg, relax so the arms are doing the work. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, pull on the strap. Really sending that breath down into the hamstring. You can stay there or continue to progress in little steps. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, pull it in. Maybe walk your hands up. Inhale, prepare. Walk your hands up or pull on the strap. And bend your left knee. Release the foot from the strap and place that strap to your side. And we're going to take 3 big breaths here today to end our time together. So coming into our corpse pose, Shavasana, legs extended long, arms extended long. Let the feet just kind of roll open like a book. Close the eyes. 3 big breaths here, but we're mentally imagining the hamstrings lengthening and sending the breath down. Inhale. And exhale, send that breath into the hamstrings. Feel them soften and lengthen. 2 more, inhale. And exhale. 1 more together, big inhale. Mentally send that breath and energy to the hamstrings. Then opening the eyes, bend your knees, roll to one side or the other, and press yourself up to a seated position. Feeling that extra length in the hamstrings and how it is not only lengthen the hamstrings, but all the other things around it. Now that they're longer, the hips feel a little looser, the legs feel a little bit taller, the core feels a little bit better. Sealing in our time together, inhale, arms reach up, big stretch, and exhale, palms down through heart center. Thank you so much for joining me today. Blessings and namaste.